How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs. Now, I've wanted to install a pergola on the south side of my home for some time now. I have a wide open concrete patio that is a great space, but in the middle of summer, like it is right now, the sun is blazing and it kind of makes it not a great place to be hanging out for most of the day. So I started designing my own pergola that was going to be 12 feet wide by 20 feet long, but through that process and starting to spec out my build list, I was getting into the $2,500 and up range, and I just browsed online and I actually found a kit that I could get that was 12 foot by 20 foot made out of cedar, which I vastly prefer over the pressure treated wood I was going to use. But the question is it any good? This thing actually came off Amazon and only took 5 days to arrive at my door in 4 massive boxes. So let's jump into it to see how good is this kit. Is it actually high quality or not so high quality? And any tips or tricks and adjustments along the way to make a better finished product so you can make a smart decision at your own home. So I recommend opening up all 4 boxes, and the hardware and instructions were in box 4, so you can't just open your first one and expect everything to be there. Now, you can use your phone, scan the QR code, and this specific pergola in this company actually use what's called the Built app, B-I-L-T. This app is becoming more and more popular where the companies are using it for their assembly instructions. You can see all the different pergolas, and specifically the 20 by 12 pergola we're putting together. It uses the 3D models from the design of the product and integrates that with the assembly so you can spin it, rotate, zoom in, and get much better detailed instructions during the assembly process. So first up, we're going to put the bases, the plastic bases, on these 6 posts. And you'll notice right away, I was a little disappointed. These are not solid 6x6 cedar posts. They are actually assemblies. At the top, they're solid, but then they did save a little weight and took out the core. Now, I'm assuming they did all the different analysis to make sure it can hold the weight, but that just was a little bit of a surprise. Already an adjustment I'm going to make is they call out wood screws in 4 corners of this plastic, but then that makes the wood screws protrude out a little bit further than the plastic, so your post would actually be just sitting on the wood screw heads. So I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use one of the multiple other holes that are recessed into the plastic base so those screw heads don't stick out. And I'm also not going to drill out the 1/8 of an inch pilot holes because I don't think you need it for those wood screws. I'll do pilot holes for any lag bolts we'll be using, but not for the wood screws. So we'll go through and just batch up anything you can. So we'll batch up all of these bases, and then we'll go ahead and move on. Once all 6 of those are installed, we'll start to assemble some of the main cross members before we start bringing together some of these pieces and start setting up the overall pergola. Now, you want to set up a workstation. I'm not using the best workstation, it's just a patio table here, but at least it gets it a little bit off the floor and allows me to start bolting everything together. You will be doing a lot of bolted joints. A lot of the kits can't come with 20-foot long pieces of lumber, obviously, so you're going to have to piece together shorter lengths of cedar and bring those together. Most of these are solid boards, which overall is a positive sign for the design. So to give you a little closer look at the hardware, the way a lot of this is going to come together is we're going to have a lock washer. On one side, we have our bolt with our torque bit, which is nice so we can avoid stripping out or camming out like you'd get with a Phillips head. And then we have these T-nuts. So on this one joint that we'll be bringing together, we'll bring the 4 T-nuts. Now, you could set these if you want to. I'm on a patio table here, so I'm not going to go crazy with it. But those will pull in once we get our threads started. So this one specifically is going to go on the back side. We'll start lining up our holes. And don't forget to put your lock washer on. You can start to find each of those holes. And then I'll use an impact driver to get these started. Remember, do not go crazy with your impact driver right away. You do not want to cross thread these. So we'll just start off slow, letting those threads bite in. And you will feel resistance pretty early because you're going to start to pull in those T-nuts. Now, before you tighten these down, make sure you got everything where you want it. So now with all those end wall and sidewall joists complete, we can start building out the walls. First, we'll start off with one of the 12-foot side walls, and that will be complete. So we'll build this out, and then we'll start to kind of piece together these side sections. This is going to be the longer 20-foot section, so it's going to be multi-piece. This is the middle 6x6 post right now that we're putting in, and I highly recommend that you have a helping hand. And then also I marked on the concrete exactly where I want that corner post to go, so I have a reference. This is going to continue to get harder and harder to get the posts where you want them, so I recommend spending some extra time right now, and with another helping hand you can make sure the posts are all where they want to be and you get them plumb. So I'll build out that other side wall, place that up, and then continue to build out the rest of the 20-foot section. The other sidewall here, the 12-foot sidewall, I will go ahead and place the extension boards on here for those side joists. And then I'll use a pressure treated 2x4 just as a little bit of a holder there so I can prop everything in place and get it all screwed in. So last night I was getting a little dark and I did the rest of the finishing touches of the overall structure. I put on these little extension pieces, finished off all the additional bracing that will go in each of the corners, and now we have the full structure completed. Now this is the time I recommend that you go around and you make sure that all of your 6x6 posts are plumb and where you want them. Check your spacing to the house. If you have any other references, like I have edge of concrete, just make sure each of those 6x6 posts is exactly where you want to go, and they're also plumb in both directions. Once you have that, once you're satisfied with that position, I do recommend marking those on your concrete. So as we put the rest of this in, you'll always have those reference points where the 6x6 post should be, just in case things move a little bit, because we will be anchoring those down to concrete. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in just a couple steps. But I do recommend, again, check everything. We have a lot of joints on the pergola. Everything went together smoothly and fit the way it should, no stripping out, but this is the time to make adjustments if you need to before you put the rest of the pergola up, because it's just going to be harder and harder to make those adjustments later on. So not quite ready to give the full seal of approval, but so far I've been very impressed with the pergola and the overall quality of the materials. So we'll continue on, but if you need a link for this exact pergola, look in the description below the video. And over on Amazon, you'll see this exact 12x20, but they also have other models, as that's the biggest one they offer, and it kind of scales down from there. So let's jump in, finish this guy off, and see what the final verdict is once it's all together. So now we'll have 12 joists. I'm just gonna batch process these, putting all those T-nuts in the back and then building 3 or 4 of them out at a time and then putting them on top of the pergola. Now, once you have all those in place, you'll start to sink 2 large lags, one in each end. And remember, check your spacing as you go, and also make sure you're alternating your joints here. You don't want all of them on one side or the other. But if you space them correctly, mine was about 18.5 inches edge to edge, you should have nice straight joist moving on to your purlins. Now the purlins stretch the whole length, so they're about 20 feet long and made of 3 different sections with 2 screws and T-nuts holding together the 3 pieces. I always started off on the left-hand side, securing the purlins first on the left-hand side, then went all the way over to the right-hand side, and then finishing up with 2 screws in the middle to try to get everything straight on the joists. So now we're ready to secure everything to the concrete. And this is assuming you checked your post again, check those marks that we made earlier, and also check that plumb on both sides is still good to go for all 6 of your posts. You're gonna have 2 of these mounting plates. We're gonna send some anchors through those, and then you'll just have 2 post plates on the other 2 sides to give it a consistent look. Now this is where I made the upgrade. Instead of using these small Tapcon-like anchors, 2 of those at each location, I'm swapping that out to 1 larger 3/8 of an inch by 3-inch Simpson strong tie concrete anchor. And then just to give you a size comparison, here's the kind of Tapcon style 2 that come with it, and here's our upgrade. I said 3/8 before. This is actually a 1/2 of an inch. You go 3 or 4 inch. I have 4 inchers here, but the link in the description is the correct one for the Simpson strong tie concrete anchor that we'll be using. These Simpson strong ties are the best on the market. I have used Tapcons many times in the past, but Simpson strong tie bite in much better and are less likely to blow out that hole. But just know a nice rotary hammer drill marked at 1 inch past the depth of that screw and making sure you get all of that debris out of the hole. That is the recipe for success when you're trying to drill these down and make sure that Simpson Strong-Tied holds tight. Now, if you're struggling with your cordless drill on the hammer setting, again, I highly recommend a rotary hammer drill like this. It's much more effective at drilling holes in your concrete, especially if you're stepping up to these Simpson Strong-Ties, which are going to be the much larger hole. So we'll drill out, making sure we're at least 1 inch past the concrete anchor itself, and then just drive that home for a strong hold. So you'll sink the rest of those anchors, and that will really secure the overall structure. Now the kit also comes with an outdoor rated power strip that will have a couple outlets, 120, and also some USB-A's to charge some of your devices. So the question is, do I recommend this kit after putting it all together? Overall, shed kits, greenhouse kits, pergola kits, gazebo kits usually can be hit or miss in terms of their quality and the finished product you get. But this one overall is very high quality, and this is one of the best kits I've ever put together. I'm very impressed with the lumber quality, the hardware quality, and the very few tweaks I had to do to get the end product that I wanted. Overall, the build time was about 10 hours start to finish, and that's even capturing the video. So possibly you might do this in just a single day and knock it out, which you're simply not going to do if you're doing a custom design with all the pre-drilling you're going to have to do, the cutting, the additional measurements, and just the planning and kind of stepping back and planning out your design. It could be 2, 3, 4, or more times longer to build a similar size structure. But let me know what you guys think, also what questions you have, and you'll see the link below the video for this exact kit if it's something you're looking to do in the near future. Now, if you're looking for another great outdoor project and one that's a little smaller, you can check out this video right here with our buddy Carlos over at Everyday Shed. We put together kind of a mini shed for his recycling and garbage totes. So thanks for joining me on this video, and we'll catch you on that next one. Take care.